Hey everybody, welcome into the Delmarva Sports Insider, your top team for all things local sports right here on the Eastern Shore. I'm Sports Director Brandon Bosser.
Devin J. Martin, welcome into the show. As always, we got a lot to get into tonight.
Yeah, that's right. Sports reporter Cole Howard will be with us in just a bit. We have the final show.
I know.
Talking about high school sports season right here. It's all coming to an end tonight.
So fast. It's just like we just started.
Yeah, I know, exactly. But we have two games to break down for tomorrow, along with those Salisbury Seagulls as well.
Yep, and the Shorebirds too. And I can't believe the season is wrapping up, Brandon. I mean, it seems like yesterday. Again, this is my first spring season. It went by so fast.
Yeah, it goes by pretty fast. But you know what? We saw a lot of great moments this year, and we're going to see some great moments tomorrow as well.
Yeah, we sure will. And again, by Monday, it will be all over for the high school teams. But we still have local teams still alive this late in the season, which shows the strength of the Henlopen and the Bayside in their respective sports.
Yeah, this is basically the Cape Henlopen show for the first 6 minutes or so, because we begin tonight with the championship game that is just under 13 hours away from face-off. Hey, no one is surprised, Devin, you're new to this area, but no one's surprised that we are seeing these two teams in the finals. The last two times around, we've also seen Salesianum and Cape Henlopen facing off in boys lacrosse.
And so for these Cape seniors, obviously this will be a rubber match, a chance to take two out of the three in the finals against Salesianum. And we caught up with the Vikings as they get ready, Brandon, for this heavyweight bout.
Well, everybody says that we're the top two teams. We still have to prove it getting up to this point. We've done that, so we expected to be here.
Once again, the boys lacrosse championship comes down to two schools. One, a private school from Newcastle County. The other, a public school from Sussex. Salesianum and Cape Henlopen renew the best rivalry in lacrosse in the first state. The last four meetings have been decided by 2 goals or fewer, including their last meeting back on May 3rd.
We learned kind of who they want to run their offense with, what particular players, and who we match up well against, and then sometimes who we don't match up as well against, so just taking care of those matchups. We learned that we can't give up 5 goals straight. We had a lead going into the second quarter, and we gave up 5 goals in a row, and I think that kind of lost us the game. So as long as we can keep our foot on the gas, I think we can come away with a win.
We learned that they're a tough team. They play hard, and if you make a mistake, they'll capitalize on it.
Head coach Mark D'Ambrosi says the focus leading into the game isn't the opponent, but how the Vikings can limit as many mistakes as possible.
We spent a little bit of time talking about them because they have tendencies like all teams. So we're going to try to take away some of the things that they do well. But most importantly, if we focus on us, take care of the ball, make smart decisions, whether it's defensively or offensively, and win ground balls in the middle of the field. It's a key to all games, and in this game, you try not to complicate it. It's going to be key to this one as well.
These seniors are the only class of Vikings who have experienced a victory over Salesianum in the state title game. So what advice do they have for the underclassmen?
No real change in mindset, really. The goal every time you step on the field is to win. So, why would that be any different because there's a trophy on the line or this is the end of a tournament? You play a game, you want to win. We played in the regular season, we wanted to win, we didn't. We're going to play on Saturday, we want to win, hopefully we can.
It requires your best game. You got to be as energetic as you've ever been. You got to be focused as you've ever been. And you just got to play as hard as you can.
I'm the only returning starter on our defense from last year, so just getting comfortable communicating on the field and being ready to play. Not getting too overexcited, just staying level-headed, not doing anything super crazy before the game.
And what better way for this group to go out than with one more matchup with their arch rivals with the trophy on the line.
I don't know that what I tell them on the night before is going to get them any more excited than they are just with the opportunity to play.
We don't really like them a lot. They don't really like us, so it's a lot of fun.
I'm just excited to have one last opportunity to play with my friends and my teammates.
And again, we said heavyweight bout. The bell rings tomorrow at noon. They'll be going at it at Caravel Academy. It should be a great close game once again. It always seems to be. So what more can you ask for, Devin? These are the two best programs in the state. No doubt about that.
Right.
And this is the game that you want to go to if you want to see good lacrosse.
I like how he said, we don't really like them and they don't really like us. So, that's how it should be.
It's the truth.
Yeah.
That's the truth here is Cape Henlopen and Salesianum, they don't like each other, but they do respect each other when it comes to actually getting out on the field and playing. The keys, they're the same as any other game of this magnitude, I think. Win the face-offs, control possession, limit the turnovers, limit the penalties, and don't forget about what got you here. Work the ball around, pass off a good shot for a better shot. These guys know, they've been here before, and what was so fun about being at this practice is that they're not intimidated about going up against the beast that is Salesianum lacrosse. They're not intimidated. They see themselves as equals with Salesianum, and that's because they really are equals with Sally's.
And I think another reason why they're probably not intimidated, because over the 5 previous years, excluding obviously the 2020 season and including this year, and 7 out of the last 9 postseasons, they have met each other. So they're very familiar with each other, whether it was in the state championship game or whether it was in the state semifinals. Obviously, Sally's going to 4-2 against Cape, but they know each other. This isn't something where they're unfamiliar with each other. So their familiarity, breeds, a lot of confidence, because they kind of know what to expect. And I know that coaching staff that's been there a while kind of know what to expect from each of the other programs. So, but I know the seniors from Cape are salivating at a chance to kind of stick it to them, because they know each other so well, and they've taken some losses to them, and they've beaten them before, but they have to be on their P's and Q's. Vikings do.
And that's
crowned champs once again.
And you know what? That's what's so great about this rivalry is not only are both of these teams great, not only do they see each other in the playoffs every single year, it seems like, it's always a close game. Always a close game. The last 3 years, we've seen 4 games between these two teams. Every single game except for one was decided by 2. The other one was decided by 1 between these two. So every little thing in these games matters. If a little turnover here and there, it's going to matter in this game when it wouldn't matter if you were facing lesser competition.
Or any penalties or anything like that. They can definitely get punished for it. So I think they're going to be very, very excited. And again, that game is tomorrow at noon.
Yeah, tomorrow at noon at Caravel Academy. We cannot wait for this one. It's going to be some great lacrosse out there. Devin, we have another playoff game to get to.
And not even just lacrosse as well, but it's still Cape. That's baseball. That game is also tomorrow, and that's on the horizon.
Yeah, exactly. We're talking about Cape's baseball team and their state semifinal game coming up against St. Mark's. Cape Henlopen finishing the regular season with an impressive 16-2 mark. Those 2 losses were at the beginning of the season, and after that, they just took off and did not look back this year. Cape started the playoffs in dominant fashion, taking down Lake Forest 19-1.
And then they would have a huge battle against Sussex Tech, coming out on top 11-10. Now the Vikings go up against St. Mark's in the state semifinals, a team they are familiar with, because Cape went up against St. Mark's back on May 10th and walked away with a 6-2 win. Now we spoke with catcher Brent Scott, starting pitcher Nick Cox, and head coach Ben Evick, and asked how they're preparing for the big game.
It's just another game. I mean, being in Frawley, it's a little bit different of an atmosphere, but it's still the same game. Still got to play the same way, play tough.
I just like to treat every game as like another game of the season. Like, I don't prepare myself too much for like a big game, because then I go in tight. I just go in loose and just play the game.
Yeah, these guys are a real good group of kids. They started working out together in the fall in the weight room. That we were on the weight room 3 days a week, all fall, all winter. They were in there together. They've just stuck together for throughout that whole thing, throughout our preseason, throughout the season. A couple losses there early in the year, stuck together, stuck to the approach, and here we are.
So thanks to that terrible weather that we saw yesterday, DIAA had to reschedule the state semis to tomorrow. Conrad and Appoquinimink squaring off at 5 o'clock in that other game, with Cape Henlopen and St. Mark's meeting at 8 o'clock. Both of those games are at Frawley Stadium in Wilmington, the home of the Wilmington Blue Rocks in Class High A baseball. So the Vikings, they're the only team that will have to make that long trip up north. St. Mark's, Conrad, and Appoquinimink, all from Newcastle County. All right, so Cape trying to get back to the title game for the first time for all of these players who are on this roster. The last time they won it all was back in 2018 with the Geloff brothers. We've seen this team come up big in big moments this year. Obviously, we mentioned that they had already played St. Mark's. Nicholas Cox will get the start tomorrow. He'll look to have a better performance in this game than he did back against Tech in the quarterfinals. The important thing for Cape will be to limit the runs that they allow against St. Mark's, because they gave up 4 runs per game this season, which is actually the worst among the Final 4 teams that are still remaining in these playoffs. They're playing St. Mark's, led by maybe the best coach in the entire state in Matt Smith. So this will be a challenging one for anyone. And Cape needs to get their A game going tomorrow at 8 o'clock. But Cox is he's the starting pitcher. He pitched against St. Mark's last time around, only gave up the 2 runs in 6 innings. So, he's faced that team, and he's had success already.
And you mentioned just, them being on their A game. Overall, in a macro sense, again, they finished 16-2, but as you mentioned, they started the season off 1-2. They ended the season on a 15-game winning streak, and then if you include the playoffs, that's 18 games in a row. So I did the math. They haven't lost. Their last game that they lost was on April 2nd. So that's over 2 months. So, and as you mentioned,
2 months in a row.
2 months in a row,
but
nothing but wins. And they've also finished, they fought, played against St. Mark's before. So this is a team that they know, and the momentum is an avalanche on their side right now.
But obviously, win or go home in the playoffs. You go to Frawley Stadium, you've got a huge ballpark that you're playing in, pitcher's ballpark out there, so that could also help Cape Henlopen going up against St. Mark's. We'll see what happens tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. Let's send things over now to sports reporter Cole Howard to talk about the games that we saw last weekend, the 2 championship games that we saw.
Thanks, guys. So we got 2 championship games to recap from this past weekend. So let's begin in Maryland with the Colonels. They made the trip over to Waldorf, taking on Clear Springs. The Colonels with home field advantage as the higher seed, but it did not matter in this one. The Blazers loaded the bases with no out in the first, and it resulted in 4 runs. And they were in a hole before coming to bat. Colonels eventually were down 11-0, but you have to love this team. They continued to fight, scoring 2 in the 5th just to keep this one alive, and they added 1 more late in the game to make it 11-3. But it was just too little too late. Clear Springs wins the 1A baseball crown, but congratulations to Colonel Richardson on a fantastic season. True form, they fought until the last very out. And now we move over to Delaware softball. Madge Layfield leading their biggest team for Central with a great start. Tequila Davis brings home a run, but the first of the 2 for Central in the inning. But Caravel's offense erupted for 6 runs in the 2nd inning. And you could see it, and you'll hear about it later. The strike zone was an issue for Layfield throughout the afternoon. She gave up half a dozen walks before giving up a base hit, and that is unheard of against one of the best pitchers in the state. But the Golden Knights, they did not quit. They go out and get back 3 in the 3rd inning, and after 3, this was back to a 1-run game. The Knights come all the way back later in the game. Caitlin Evick with a clutch base hit up the middle to bring Kirsten Anderson home to tie things up at 7-all. But the defending champs in Caravel, they respond in their half of the 6th inning. Haley Gergo with the biggest hit of her life, and that gives Caravel the lead 8-7 in the 6th inning with only 3 outs to go for another state title. But you got to give Madge Layfield credit. She battled all afternoon, gets a strikeout to retire the side with the runner at 3rd base. So the Knights come to bat 1 final time. They get the tying run on base, but this pop-up, it would end the game. Caravel, they win the state championship 8-7, and we spoke with head coach John Wells, who was frustrated with the tight zone at the plate and how it impacted this game.
I don't know, 15 walks? Yeah. How's that happen? Yeah. So that can change everything. You walk 15 people, well, I'm guessing. That changes a lot of the scoring. You see a 6 spot on us, you don't get 5 walks in the inning and 6 spot. It just doesn't happen. Well, we told our pitcher, throw the ball over the white of the plate, spin it, and hope you don't hit it a whole lot. It really, our girls had to. If you want to try to win the game, you got to go with what they're giving you.
And that's it for me, so let's send it back over to the desk with Brandon and Devin.
Thank you, Cole. I'm so glad that you're on our team. Now, Brandon, again, that's their 2nd straight loss. I'm talking about, obviously, Madge Layfield and her team in the state championship game going back last year. 1 runs. Do you think this year that the head coach, John Wells, had a legit gripe about the strike zone with his frustrations from what he saw?
You know what? It's a terrible way to lose a game. Last year, I think the better team won when it comes to Caravel. But this time around, I don't know if I can actually say that the best team won. And that's something that's terrible to say because I was an umpire for 10 years. I know just how difficult of a job that it is. And there were some calls. I was right behind home plate, about 5 or 10 feet away from home plate, and there were some calls that you sit there and go, that's not a strike. Yeah. That's not a strike right there. And some of those calls, if they were called strike 3, Madge gets out of the inning without giving up any runs. So that was an extremely tough inning to come back from. But for Madge Layfield to be able to settle back in after that second inning, only giving up 2 runs against that vaunted Caravel offense, they are so patient at the plate. They were working the count because they knew what was going on. That Caravel offense is absolutely lethal out there, but she only gives up 2 runs for the rest of the game, gives her team a chance to win. But not only that, the offense for the Golden Knights were able to put together hits, put together walks, and they battled back to come back and tie Caravel.
Right.
That was an impressive game by the Golden Knights. I just wish that we could be talking about this in a different way right now.
Yeah, in a different tone.
But I've already said what I have to say about this game. Hats off to the Golden Knights on a fantastic season. You know what? I wouldn't be surprised if we saw these teams once again next year, 3rd time around.
Right, and again, Madge Layfield had a monster freshman year and an even greater sophomore year. So as you said, this could be something that we see them again, especially with her on the mound pitching in the circle pitching. The sky's the limit for her.
Yeah, exactly. That'll do it for the A block. We are taking a quick break, and when we come back, we're switching over to the college ball game. The defending champion Gulls opening up the College World Series in style.
Hi, my name is Marlon McDormand, and I'm with Pocomoke Field Hockey, and you are watching Delmarva Sports Insider.